Welcome back to Parnell Park for our second go-ahead Dublin Senior Football Championship 1 encounter of the afternoon. Kilmacud Crokes, last season's beaten AIB All-Ireland Club finalists, up against Raheny. Coleman Goggins with me for this one. Coleman, first things first, there's no Shane Walsh for Kilmacud Crokes. There's no Brian Fenton for Raheny, he's travelling.
Probably would have been more of a shock if Shane Walsh was here now than Brian Fenton, if we're being honest.
Well, I just wanted to clarify because there's been a lot of talk and people would have been wondering. But anyway, there we go.
Yeah, look, big miss for Raheny, certainly. You know, Shane Walsh and Kilmacud Crokes story will probably run, but Crokes can well compete without Shane Walsh. They have enough talent in the ranks. But Brian Fenton is certainly a big miss for Raheny, given obviously the level of experience he has at inter-county level. That said, you know, Raheny are never found wanting. They'll certainly look to get ball into that inside line to try and get a couple of scores. You know, it'll be hard against Crokes. They'll work very hard. Kilmacud, they'll put a lot of pressure on the kick out. They'll try and squeeze Raheny early and try and get a couple of early scores to maybe force the issue. But you know, Raheny defensively are quite strong. They're rigid in terms of their back line. Good full back. Brian Howard probably play around centre back. It might drift into the middle of the field. So that they'll be solid down the spine of the team. It's just have they enough quality up front to get the scores. If they do manage to create, a bit like we see with Thomas Davis in the last game there, they can certainly work hard as any other team. It's have you got that quality up front that able to get the score when you're creating the opportunities. And that's maybe where Raheny will be found wanting as the game progresses. You know, that said, Crokes starting out again will have been hugely disappointed by how last year ended. Probably head into the Dublin Championship this year as you know, hot favourites alongside the likes of a Ballymun, but they'll probably stand shoulders above everyone else given where they were last year and how competitive and how strong they've been.
Their league form was mixed, Kilmacud Crokes, and obviously that was a huge blow to lose that final the way they did. Does that have an effect on how you start the following season, championship wise? I appreciate they've obviously started the season having played league games. Yeah,
well, you know, obviously they feel that they left one behind them in terms of that All-Ireland Club final, so they feel that they have to, you know, pretty much at the bottom of the hill again, and you have to climb it. You have to get through the group stages. You have to win a Dublin County final. You mentioned yourself in the previous game how difficult that is given the quality of opposition across the group stages, never mind when you get to quarter-final, semi-final stages, and then obviously into a final. So to get back to an All-Ireland Club final, you've got to start somewhere, and that's against Raheny today. So you lay down a marker early, regardless of how long the season is going to be. It's going to finish the end of this year in terms of where they get to, if they manage to go all the way, but you still have to start off and lay down a marker. We see him at Nafina there, they struggle to break down Thomas Davis because they're so hard on how they work. So for Raheny can apply a similar type of pressure to Kilmacud Crokes and not allow them to get into that flow and into that momentum. Well, you hopefully maybe are able to rekindle some of the doubts that set in towards the end of that All-Ireland Club final, albeit the quality that Kilmacud have, the youth that they have coming through, and the bench that they're able to call on to dig them out at the end of games is significant when you compare that to maybe the quality that's coming off the bench for the likes of Raheny and other clubs that don't have the same type of numbers spread across the club.
Let's talk about the teams as they start. Gavin Ivory in goal for Raheny, probably more known as an outfielder. That's where he played for Dublin at underage level and of course in the O'Byrne Cup. A very decent centre forward and wing forward, but came in last year after the two keepers, Andrew Carroll and Kieran Heaps, got injured, and it's a position he either likes or they like him there.
Yeah, well, I assume he likes, because you're not going to stay there if it's the case that you're not enjoying it. He would have kick free, so he's going to have a fairly solid kick out, be that short or long, I imagine. So that's a huge plus if you can work it in terms of creating space to give him an option on the ball. So that's a huge benefit to have someone who's that comfortable on a dead ball. Certainly more renowned as a free taker or a forward. Might be a case that he gets dragged out for any of those longer range, 45, 50 metre type frees. But they also have Sean Grenham inside, who's actually a good free taker as well, so they won't be banking overly on Ivory. But look, it's a change in terms of you haven't played there for 20 odd years of your career, I suppose, be it club or county. So big change for him, but he seems to be the man between the sticks for Raheny, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes.
You mentioned Sean Grenham there. He was a Dublin minor in 2018. For Kilmacud Crokes, I guess they will be looking for Shane Cunningham and Hugh Kenny and Cian O'Connor to lead the line. Of course, Paul Mannion still not back and available.
Yeah, well, look, Mannion lit up the Dublin Championship last year. He was the go-to player for Kilmacud in a lot of the games. He dug them out at times when things weren't going particularly well. You think of the Jude's game in particular, but you know, Mannion is a loss, there's no doubt about it. But you then look at what they've got inside. Kenny Cunningham, Cian O'Connor, there's scores there. Aidan Jones in the half line is able to grab a couple of scores as well, and then you have good bit of pace from that back line. Dan O'Brien, while he's numbered at or marked in at cornerback there, a guy who was very effective for Kilmacud last year on the half back line. Don't expect him to sit as deep all the time. So, Crokes will look to add that pace off the shoulder, guys coming from deep that'll support the runners, but they have scores inside. But without Mannion, they don't have the guarantee of 1-3, 1-4 or 6 points that Paul Mannion generally gets for you at a club game.
Mannion and Walsh in the same team. Which one is Pippin and which one is Jordan? I'll let you decide.
Yeah, I'm not going to give the answer to that. Look, Paul Mannion on his own is good enough to carry that Kilmacud forward division. If Shane Walsh comes into it, it's something totally different. But look, I think that's hearsay in whether Shane Walsh ever does tug out. I think the big thing is the guys that are lining out for Crokes probably have that little bit more quality than maybe Raheny have in their forward line. So the question is, can Raheny match them in terms of work rate, attitude, application around the field, and then hope that they can create a goal chance or two and maybe stick it in the net and really ask a couple of questions of Crokes.
Conditions absolutely perfect. It's overcast, but it is quite warm. There was a breeze for the first game between Nafina and Thomas Davis, but that breeze seems to have died off.
Yeah, it has dropped, and I suppose start time here as well. It looks like they've been probably given an extra couple of minutes as well, that you're not going to start at 5:30, so they're probably giving them the time to build into the game, as they would have been given enough time had the first game maybe finished on time. That was delayed obviously because of the net dropping off the crossbar there that had to be fixed. So still a bit warming up, going through their paces here, so don't imagine it's going to start at 5:30 or anyway close. It'll probably be another 10 minutes or so. But yeah, wind has dropped. It's not going to be as influential, let's say, as during the first game. Kilmacud Crokes, where they got a bit of success last year, was delivering long balls into forward line from 40 yards out the field, and it's that foot pass and use of the foot pass that can cause so many problems if you back yourself to deliver against it. More often than not, guys will turn back and use a hand pass rather than take the risk of giving the ball away. And we see it in the previous game with Davis is working so hard to generate a turnover, and when you turn it over yourself, the energy that's sapped out in the work and trying to win the ball, create the scoring opportunity, and then when you don't deliver, it's so hard to keep that going for 60 minutes. You've got to get a score on the end of a turnover, the end of a move, and not allow the opposition then to counter on you.
St Jude's 1-9, Skerries Harps 4 points, a latest score from that game. Earlier on, Nafina overcoming Thomas Davis. You can watch that game back in full on Dubs TV. Last night, Ballymun Kickham's getting a slender 1 point win against Clontarf. Other games going on today includes Ballyboden against Coola. That one started off a couple of minutes ago, and we'll try and get you a scoreline from Round Towers of Lusk against Whitehall. That game started at 5 o'clock. This though, the match in Parnell Park between Kilmacud, Crokes and Raheny is what we will concentrate on today. Crokes in their mostly white jerseys against Raheny in the maroon. The warm-up continuing for both teams. There was obviously a bit of a delay to the last game, as Coleman mentioned there, so we're a little bit later starting this one, but I think we will get underway very soon indeed. Brian Fenton, unfortunately for Raheny, not there. He may be due back in the next couple of weeks. Paul Mannion the same with Kilmacud Crokes. But it's still a very decent lineup that Kilmacud Crokes have, including Gavin Sheridan in goal, Michael Mullen, Ross McGowan and Dan O'Brien across the full back line, Conor Kilsela, Rory O'Carroll and Andrew McGowan in the half forwards, or half backs I should say, Ben Shovelin and Craig Diaz in midfield, Tom Fox, Aidan Jones and Conor Casey in the half forward line, then Hugh Kenny, Shane Cunningham and Cian O'Connor in the full forward line. It's Gavin Ivory in goal for Raheny, then Ben McHugh, Sean Byrne and David Chatwell. Rutherson Reel, Brian Howard and Sean McMahon are the half backs, with Michael Grenham and Brian Talty in midfield. Darren Byrne, Cian Ivers and Sean McCarthy are the half forwards. Patrick Reid is at full forward alongside Sean Grenham and Owen Keogh. Still a very experienced lineup for Raheny. There's a lot of talent in there. I mean, Kilmacud Crokes, everyone will focus on them given the names they have and the fact that they've won the county and Leinster title, but Raheny are a very, very solid team.
Yeah, well, that half back line, like Rutherson Reel would have played with Desi Farrell in the Dublin minor team in 2011. So a lot of experience, a lot of coaching outside of his own club in terms of Dublin coaching he's also received, and then Brian Howard and Sean McMahon, two senior inter-county footballers as well. So that half back line offers real promise for Raheny if they're able to get a foothold in the middle of the field. Now, whether Brian Howard slips into the middle of the field with Michael Grenham or Brian Talty swapping out with him will be interesting to see. Probably better to hold him at 6, because I think he can have an impact coming from deep on the ball, rather than being in the middle of the field expected to go both directions for Raheny. He's well able to contribute from centre back, and probably best that he stays there. And then it's really a matter of, can they get a bit of ball into Patrick Reid and Sean Grenham. Owen Keogh, is well able to contribute as well. Probably be asked to do a little bit more work around the fringes, but certainly that half back line gives them an opportunity in terms of snuffing out where Crokes will hope to get the ball. I mentioned in the last game, what sometimes happens is, when teams are under a little bit of pressure, their half forward line gets sucked out a little bit, which creates this big gap into their full forward line. And the teams that are able to win out games and see out championships are able to hold a line and hold a formula that allows them to only have 20-yard passes most of the time to a half line, then into a full forward line. And it's that transition through the lines that's so important. When you're trying to kick a ball 40 yards, it may work, but more often than not, you're giving the defender a better opportunity to get out in front, to get a hand in. So it's that consistency of how you can link the lines rather than skipping lines that allows teams then to build a foothold into a game. So important that Raheny have key link men across each of the lines. And if they can get a foothold, as I mentioned, in the middle of the field, bring their half-back line into it, then they do give themselves an opportunity of getting at this Kilmacud Crokes side.
Just to remind you that the top two teams from each group go through to the quarter-finals. Then the bottom teams in all of the groups effectively go into a relegation playoff. The two teams that reach the Senior 2 final go up automatically this year. And the Senior 2 Championship is nearly as interesting as the Senior 1, given some of the teams in it. We're getting close to throw-in. It is Raheny against Kilmacud Crokes. Kilmacud Crokes, the defending champions in Dublin, up against Raheny, who've got an awful lot of talent, and they want to show that today on a perfect day for football here in the capital. Kilmacud Crokes, the 9-time champions, won it in 2021, 2018, 2010, 2008, 05, 04, 98, 94 and 92. And for many, the favourites for this year. But that is a tag that can mean very, very little in any championship, let alone the go-ahead Dublin Senior Football Championship.
Yeah, well, look, the old saying, nothing's won on paper, so you've got to really show up. And, the competitive nature of the Senior Championship in Dublin means that every team is going to be physical, going to be well set, going to be structured around what they're trying to do. So, not an easy task to win back-to-back titles in Dublin Championship football.
In the last couple of years, Raheny failed to get out of the group. The year before that, got to the quarter-final. In the 2 years before that, failed to get out of the group. Paul Dempsey, their manager, will want more for them this season. We're about to get underway after a bit of a delay, just in case you're only logging on or tuning in, whatever the phraseology you use for YouTube as opposed to TV. Whatever way you're watching the game, just to let you know, we are a few minutes late starting because there was a bit of a delay in the first game, in the first half. The netting, part of it, just kind of fell off the post, so that had to be fixed. So the two teams were rightly given time to warm up properly by the officials. And now we're about to get underway. Kilmacud Crokes against Raheny.
It looks like James Murphy is in there for Ross McGowan for Kilmacud.
And Craig Diaz is a centre forward as opposed to midfield, wearing the number 9 jersey. And before the game, we will have a moment's silence. Well, this is for a few reasons. One, Dermot Smith, he was the club captain when Raheny got to the Senior Football Championship final back in 1917. He was a club trustee before he sadly passed away. Well, we mentioned Dermot Smith there. This moment's silence also for Therese Lee. Her father Brendan was club chairman and was involved in the founding of the club. Her brother Conor Lee is a mentor with the senior team and was an ex-club chairman as well. Therese actually played on the first ladies football team that the club had in 1979. Also, we're remembering Dylan Quirk of Tipperary, gone far, far too soon. And we're thinking of everyone in Clonilty, Rossmore, and everyone in Tipperary hurling circles, and everyone who knew Dylan Quirk. Just a horrific time for that area, for that club. We're underway, and it's collected by Sean McMahon, but it is a free. Move backwards. Here's Andy McGowan. He heard the call from Tom Fox. Fox called the mark. Ben Shovlin wanted it, didn't quite come his way. Conor Casey. Fox. Fox looking for Casey and finding him. Shane Cunningham. Fox. Cunningham. Cian O'Connor. Cian O'Connor laid it off. McGowan is in acres of space on this near side. Dan O'Brien carries. O'Brien at pace. Lays it off for Tom Fox, who gets the first score of the championship for Kilmacud Crokes. A good one as well.
Yeah, great play. They moved the ball well across the lines there. Tom Fox came on to the end of the move. I mentioned Dan O'Brien wasn't probably going to sit back too deep. That's what happens when you drag, your corner forwards out the field. Owen Keogh, as I mentioned, will probably out around there. Suit Dan O'Brien, loves to attack the ball. Be interesting to see on kick out here.
Intercepted by Shane Cunningham, but Crokes can't keep it in field. Coming back to take it is Brian Howard. Ben McHugh. Gavin Ivory. Went short to Grenham. Sean Byrne. Owen Keogh. Gavin Ivory. It's a risky enough one, but it's a risk that does pay off. Well, it did initially, and then it was lost. Aidan Jones is running through here, but Cian O'Connor has possession. Jones wanted it. O'Connor! Good save. Dan O'Brien. Conor Casey will have to retrieve this. It's James Murphy who's in for Crokes. Number 17. Wasn't named to start but has started. Tom Fox breaks here for Craig Diaz. That's another fantastic save. It is a point, but it could have been far, far worse.
Yeah, well, Crokes just laying down the intentions early here. 2 goal chances in the space of a minute. First, great stop with the boot. Pushed it back out the field. Crokes managed to recycle it. I was convinced Dias was going to roof that one, but another great hand to push the ball over the bar. Concession of a point, so much better than obviously a goal, but clear that Crokes are fully at this from the get-go.
Well, that save could be so important. Keogh. Grenham. Howard. Shotwell. Shotwell, the vice captain. It's a little bit loose. Well taken by McGowan. Sends it up to Hugh Kenny. Loops it back to McGowan. Down the line to Diaz. He does risk it. It's a good foot pass. Oh no, that's a really good interception by Sean Byrne. Fantastic stuff. Still battling for the Shane Cunningham, but that's really well defended by Raheny.
Yeah, great stuff by Byrne. Looked like he was going to get away, Shane Cunningham, but Byrne came across and won the ball back and then managed to get a little boot away to reset. Crokes are so fluid in terms of the way they set up. They'll drop guys back from the full forward line. They'll have midfield swapping to the half forward line. Very hard to know where to position yourself in terms of marking players. So Raheny will take a while for them to settle in, to find out, numbers, spaces, pressure as well. Phenomenal Crokes in the middle of the field.
Sean McMahon took too many steps. Free into Kilmacud Crokes. Dan O'Brien has a runner outside. That runner is Conor Kinsella. Still Dan O'Brien. Gets it back to Ben Shovlin. Conor Kinsella. Dan O'Brien. It opens up a bit for O'Brien. Lovely footwork. Cian O'Connor. O'Connor was tackled by Byrne, then overcarried it, and it's a free out.
Yeah, the contact was bang on time. He was going to have to leave the ball either through a play or go for the shot. Came across him and just put him under pressure to make an extra couple of steps. Great defence from Raheny there to get the turnover.
Sean McMahon. So comfortable while carrying the ball, Sean McMahon. Back to Owen Keogh. Cian Ivers, let it go to Sean McCarthy. Good run by Darren Byrne. Darren Byrne might have to release the shot himself. Darren Byrne still going. It's a good run by Darren Byrne. Shoveling. I'm not sure if Shoveling fouled him, but there was a push and it's a free into Raheny.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it was actually a push before Shoveling got to him. If you know what I mean.
No, I think the free was before that, but I don't think the ref gave it, so he was lucky to get it the second time around. Really great run from Darren Byrne straight through the middle, but it was the run from deep. He had tested the Crokes full forward line, took a run, managed to get the pass, and then opened it up for him. Hopefully he's nothing too severe in terms of the injury that has him down at the moment, but a good chance for Raheny to get themselves on the scoreboard.
Well, he's been through the ringer injury wise. Darren Byrne was on the O'Byrne Cup panel in 2020, only recently back from an injury. Played under 21 for Dublin under Desi Farrell as well, actually won an All-Ireland title. Here's Cian Ivers. Was on a good path with Dublin, but then concentrated more on soccer. Narrows the gap to 1.
Yeah, and Raheny are pushed right up here. Crokes have 2 guys unmarked behind the midfield, so Raheny are pushed up, putting the pressure on the kick out. Oh, they're lucky to give away a free. They had put real pressure on the kick out there. Free concedes, and it makes it an easy out ball for Crokes.
Casey finds Craig Diaz, who's still doing it after all these years. Has he given that one a little bit too much? The idea was good, the execution just a little bit off.
Yeah, I mentioned Raheny had pushed up. They didn't reset quick enough there after conceding the free, so they had 2 inside, Cunningham being one that was literally unmarked, just overcooked the pass from Dias.
Rutherson Reel playing the 1-2. Looking down the line for Patrick Reid, who came out to meet it. Hanging off him was James Murphy. Reid gathers it. Owen Keogh. Reid trying to shake off Murphy, who has fouled him, and it's a free in.
Yeah, he's a big strong guy inside Patrick Reid, so he's not going to make life easy for James Murphy. He leaves the hand on him, and he was able to engineer a free. This might be on the limit for Sean Grenham in terms of kicking into the golf course end, but Raheny have settled into it a little bit. Still need to be conscious just of resetting when they pushed up on the kick out.
There's a gentle breeze blowing in favour of Raheny. Sean Grenham, I think that's going to drop. It's low and it's wide.
Yeah, probably just on his limit there. Might have been better to look to have moved it short and try and see if they could have worked something.
James Murphy. Rory O'Carroll laid it off to Conor Casey. Shoveling takes the hit, but got the pass away to Casey. Aidan Jones will come back for the free.
Yeah, I think he got caught in 2 minds, because it did look like he was going to meet him on time for a shoulder, and then, maybe just checked and then caught him in the back, so it gives a chance on the ground for Crokes. No Paul Mannion obviously in terms of free taking.
Tom Fox will line it up. O'Carroll roam forward, comes into the hands of Casey. O'Carroll is in acres of space, but he wasn't spotted. Shoveling to Fox. McGowan back to Dan O'Brien. Conor Casey. Were you surprised that Dan O'Brien didn't shoot there? He got up to the edge of the D. There was no one around him. He was in the middle of the pitch.
And that's twice he's done that. He checked on the previous move as well when I thought there was a score on. He managed to get a couple of scores last year throughout Championship for Crokes. I'm not quite sure why he didn't take it on.
Aidan Jones. What a finish that was from Aidan Jones. Well, Dan O'Brien knew what was coming. That's why he didn't take his point there.
Yeah, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But again, great movement. You know, didn't look like they were travelling anywhere with that. Then a couple of quick transfers of the ball, creates a little bit of space. Jones comes in on the loop and sticks it into the top of the net. They've had 3 goal chances, so they've managed to finally hit one after 10 minutes. Just so quick in terms of how they transfer the ball to create the goal scoring opportunity.
Really well taken and really well worked. The ball falls to Conor Kinsella. Gets it off to Aidan Jones, the goal scorer. Roaming inside is Hugh Kenny. It is Shane Cunningham who cushions that one over beautifully. His first of the game. Crokes by 5.
You can see that little bit of fear in the Raheny full back line, that when Crokes are going at them, if you commit, they're afraid they might get turned round the back, so they're just playing on the edge, stepping back a little bit. Gives Cunningham half a yard and he taps it over the bar.
It's secured by Brian Howard, who wins a free. And there could be worse to follow for Crokes, including a card.
Yeah, I'd say he's going to issue a yellow card. It was high around the neck. No, just a tick in the book.
Conor Casey getting the ticking for Kilmacud Crokes. Back it goes to Ivory. Ben McHugh took it into contact, but he doesn't mind. Brian Howard. Michael Grenham. There isn't a team in the country who wouldn't miss Brian Fenton if he wasn't there, but you can just see with Raheny, they are really, really missing him today. Howard. Ben McHugh storming forward. Just a little bit loose, intercepted by Conor Kinsella. Tom Fox. Ben Shovlin. Mullen. Cian O'Connor. Kilmacud Crokes very comfortable in carrying the ball forward, but also very comfortable when someone runs at them as well.
Yeah, they set themselves well. They drop guys behind the ball. They're not, they're not afraid to pull everyone back, but they do have a lot of pace when it turns around. You can see everyone tries to get back up the field to support the movement. It's not like they're banking on 2 or 3. It's all defend, all attack when they have the ball.
Kinsella sells it short. Good ball from Ivory, good catch from Cian Ivers. Diaz tries to win it back, he is tripped, it's a free in.
Yes, so Owen just caught it on the ankle there. I think Talty left the boot in a little bit.
Diaz wanted it, didn't get it. Cian O'Connor hung on to it. Michael Mullen. Conor Casey. Casey goes on the underlapping run, didn't get it back, but he does pull a few defenders with him. Shovlin. Spilled it. Came to Sean McMahon. Running out of the attack line is Sean Grenham. He wanted it, but it was intercepted by O'Carroll. Yeah, he read that one brilliantly.
He did, yeah, but you just look at the difference in how Crokes attack versus how Raheny get out. Sean McMahon was looking forward, looking for a pass into the line. When Crokes are attacking, they've guys on the shoulder and in front, and I suppose that was the difference. O'Carroll read it well, in fairness to him, but it's that support and run from deep. Once the ball is turned over, everyone's got to be looking to support.
McGowan. Diaz pushes it back into the path of Conor Casey. Dan O'Brien. O'Brien with that injection of pace lays it off for Tom Fox. Good ball by Fox. Neat turn by Kinsella, lucky to find Fox but couldn't. Raheny had numbers back. Howard. Ivers. Bottled up by Shane Cunningham. Fouled by Shane Cunningham.
Yeah, better from Raheny that time. Got bodies in around the D. Were able to snuff out the Crokes scoring opportunity.
Ben McHugh. Outside from Michael Grenham. David Chatwell. Brian Talty. Reid shakes off McGowan. Gets it away to Darren Byrne, who drops it. And now it's collected by Cian O'Connor. There's no one really to aim at for Cian O'Connor. Craig Diaz was roaming forward, but he was well covered by 2 or 3 players. Shovlin couldn't keep a hold of that. Really good pressure, really good work from Ben McHugh. Yeah, Sean McCarthy.
Yeah, great work again. Crokes much slower coming out that time. Gave Raheny a chance to get the turnover. Great work. Patrick Reid inside hasn't come. Still down. He got a bang on the nose, I think, when he went in for the tackle there.
Rutherson Reel tries to pick out Cian Ivers, but just put a little bit too much on that one. Here's Ben Shovlin. Patrick Reid back up and running off camera. Tom Fox. James Murphy.
Yeah, the instruction across the Crokes line here is slow it down, so they're given a chance to reset.
Jones. McGowan. Hugh Kenny. Back to McGowan. Coming forward is O'Carroll. Dan O'Brien. McGowan. Forward it goes from Cunningham. Shovlin. Back to Cunningham. Craig Diaz. Trying to get away from the fullback Sean Byrne. Lovely pass to O'Carroll, who puts it over.
Yeah, I mentioned that fluidity in the Crokes movement, like Rory O'Carroll inside the 21-yard line. Craig Diaz comes out and pops a pass through to him. It's not a sight you see too often, Rory O'Carroll popping up for score, but it's that movement, that fluidity across the team that makes it so hard to mark. He stood in there on his own and no one has picked him up. Nice score from Rory O'Carroll, but a great pass inside from Diaz.
Talty looking for Reid. Good hand in from Murphy. Reid gets the second ball. Owen Keogh, who's emigrating to Portugal on Monday. Keogh on his travels today, even before Monday. Keogh, he's unlucky.
Yeah, he is unlucky. Referee not happy that Patrick Reid is suggesting that the ball did go over the bar, but did well to create the scoring opportunity. Unlucky that he just pulls it across the goal. Difficult for Raheny to get into the game because he just can't seem to get enough possession on the ball to create scoring opportunities.
Great take by Shovlin. Fox. Shovlin was running inside. Instead he went long looking for Hugh Kenny. Kenny has spilled it but to his teammate, and they might be in behind again. It's Aidan Jones once again. Cunningham's in the square. Cunningham, brave block. It was Byrne. Cunningham with a second bite of the cherry, which he hits wide.
Yeah, very brave from Byrne there, through the body, literally on the line there. Took the block on his back. Did look like he was going to get shifted across the square, but came out, won the ball turn, but Sean Byrne threw a body down, got a block on it on his back, and then Cunningham kicked it wide on the response. Just when they get in behind there, they're so dangerous. They're looking to create those goal scoring opportunities. Raheny are doing well to shift across, but there's those couple of passes are taking them out. You know, they're hanging in. Fourth goal chance, they've still only managed to bag the one.
Sean Byrne, who's been the captain for about 4 or 5 years, very, very rarely misses a game. I think he's only missed one in that time. He's a real leader, a real driver of this Raheny team. And him and the goalkeeper, with fantastic blocks and saves, have kept them in the match. They're 6 points down, but it would have been far, far worse if it wasn't for that fantastic save from Ivory. from Diaz's shot, and that block on the line by Byrne from that stinging drive of a shot from Cunningham.
Yeah, and the save he made just prior to that, the foot save he made off Cian O'Connor, I think it was. So you're right, yeah.
Great catch, fantastic work, Brian Howard. Howard goes long, it's risky. And well, I was about to say it does work because Reid got his hands on it. It spills loosely, but darting off his line was Sheridan.
Yeah, unlucky if the ball had stuck there. Would have been a great ball out from Howard after the fetch.
Dan O'Brien. Conor Casey. Craig Diaz. McGowan. They're not a team that just has a punt, are they, Kilmacud Crokes? If they're taking on a shot, it's because they're 99.9% sure they'll score it. Here's O'Carroll.
Yeah, it's all very considered. They're well drilled. They know what they're trying to do. Get the ball into the scoring area. Where Raheny are a little bit frustrated from the sideline. You can hear them shouting. Is that they're following and tracking runs, but they're not getting a hand on. They're looking to get a little bit more physical. Don't allow Crokes the time to turn and find a pass. They're tracking, they're shifting, they're just not getting physical, not getting out and putting a press on physically on the ball and on the player, and it allows then time to get the pass away, less pressure on the ball.
McGowan outside, Kinsella was an aim, didn't go to him though. Comes back to Diaz, looking for his second point, but not getting it.
Yeah, but so much to admire in the way they're moving the ball around the place. They're causing Raheny problems. Raheny are shifting, as I mentioned. They're just not getting that physical touch on to the Crokes players. Means that every time they're passing the ball, they're doing so at ease rather than under that pressure that Crokes are applying in the opposite side of things. But look, enough pressure on Diaz that time that he manages to kick it wide.
Latest score, St Jude's 1-12, Skerries Harp 7 points, and the game going on there. We'll try and keep on top of everything today. There's a lot happening in the go-ahead to Dublin Senior Football Championship. Talty went out wide. Ben McHugh coming out to meet it with centre-back Brian Howard. Howard getting inside Hugh Kenny. Howard letting one go. He was being fouled. It is a free in.
Yeah, I think he knew he was going to get the benefit of the referee there, so just swung a boot at it in the hope that he could have forced the decision rather than playing through the advantage. Important that Raheny managed to tag on another score. 7 minutes they managed to get one from a free. 15 minutes since. And apart from, chance maybe from Owen Keogh that drifted wide on the wrong side, they haven't had a huge amount of ball in the forward line to create any real problems for Kilmacud. So this is a little bit closer in for Gren. He'd missed his first opportunity. My mistake, it was Cian Ivers. Yeah.
They don't look dissimilar is the way I put it, and Sean Grenham does take frees, so one can understand your confusion. Cian Ivers gets his second, and it's a 5-point game. If Raheny could tack on a couple of more scores before the break, they'd be right back in this. Sheridan. Byrne is trying to get under that for Raheny. Bounces kindly for them. That's Michael Grenham. Owen Keogh is roaming forward. Patrick Reid looking as Brian Howard lets one go, which goes wide.
Yeah, I just think it was the wrong decision from Brian Howard. He did a lot right there, but probably should have looked to shovel it on. Almost a great catch in the middle of the field from Conor Casey. Probably got a nudge in the back that made him drop the ball. Well picked up by Raheny, but again, good pressure on the kick out. This is where they have their opportunity if they can force the kick outs. Well picked out.
Kinsella chased by Keogh into the hands of Casey. Fox, Cunningham. Burns standing strong against Cunningham, but fouling him. The Raheny supporters don't agree, as you can possibly hear. I notice your ears aren't twitching anymore. There was some music being played loudly in one of the houses around here, or somewhere around here, and you were trying to actually pick out what tunes it was. Here's McGowan.
Going to bust out a dance move there, which...
Oh, please God, don't.
I'm glad wouldn't have been caught on camera.
Diaz.
Yeah, great physicality there. Much better from Raheny, getting on the ball, putting pressure on the player.
James Murphy. Shoveling. Murphy. Well, Dancing with the Stars, I think, is back next year, so maybe you have a chance. Dennis Bastick, Aidan O'Mahony, Taggy Fogarty. There's been a few hurling and football stars involved. Anna Geary, of course.
Yeah.
So you could be the next one.
I don't think I'd inflict that on the people of the country.
I would vote for you every week just to keep you in.
I'm sure you would. That'd be the issue.
O'Carroll looking for his second score and getting it.
Great score, great strength when he picked up the ball there, running through to engineer the score on his left foot. But again, it's that movement throughout the team. Guys happy to support from deep. No one sitting back holding a position. It's everybody is involved when they're on the attack, trying to get into a free space. And O'Carroll did well to knock that one over the bar for a second score.
Hoovered up by Michael Mullen. Rory O'Carroll. Conor Casey. Mullen continued the run. He's now covered. Cian O'Connor. It opens up a bit for Cian O'Connor. Here's Tom Fox, who takes his point, his second.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just an air of inevitability around about how the game is playing out at the moment. You know, Crokes so easy to win the ball when it's kicked from that 20-30 yard distance. That's given the defenders much more of a chance to win the ball out in front. They've so much pace, they're able to do it with ease. And then when they do create into the space, it's everyone supporting on the run, and it's just impossible for Raheny to pick up everyone at the moment. So easy for them to get scores, and without really being in top gear, they're moving through the play sufficient enough to cause Raheny a lot of problems.
Ivory. Brilliant take by Reid. Reid still going, chased by James Murphy. Reid, blocked down by O'Carroll, does fall to Sean Grenham. Grenham couldn't get a shot away, and O'Carroll dispossessed him.
Great work, Rory O'Carroll. Seen him at one end, popping the ball over the bar. He comes back, gets a block on, but not happy with the block, manages to strip the ball as well. Chance for Crokes to reset. Raheny just need to get out now and get themselves organised.
Good take by Casey. At pace is the shout at him from Tom Fox. Craig Diaz. Raheny have all but one behind the ball. Dan O'Brien. Diaz. Rory O'Carroll. Conor Casey. Shane Cunningham. Michael Mullen. Conor Casey. Hugh Kenny. Michael Mullen. Dan O'Brien, I beg your pardon. Rory O'Carroll. Conor Kinsella. McGowan. A little bit too much on that one, or perhaps maybe it was misjudged by Dan O'Brien. Either way, it's a Raheny line ball.
Yeah, Andy McGowan wasn't happy. He was delighted with the pass. It just overcooked it slightly. Dan O'Brien went over his head and over the sideline, but just so easy for Crokes to move the ball across. Raheny aren't getting out, putting any kind of pressure on them, so they're able to move the ball with ease. And look at the reverse. You know, every time Crokes go in, their body's on, it's hands on, it's everything around trying to win the ball back, be it legitimate or illegitimate. They're getting bodies in the way and getting contacts on player and ball. And if Raheny could just take a leaf out of that and just step forward a little bit more to apply more pressure, doesn't allow Crokes move the ball as easy.
Darren Byrne hugging the touchline is Sean McCarthy. Steps in a bit, gets the ball. McCarthy. It's wide.
Yeah, fourth wide, just forcing the issue a little bit there. Nice idea, trying to cut across the ball, bit of a breeze blowing into the goal there, might have carried it with him, but it just drops again to the wide again, sucks a little bit of the impetus out of Raheny. But look, chance again to put a squeeze on the kick out if they can.
Sheridan, Reid, Keogh, McCarthy takes his point.
Well done after kicking one wide, backs himself to try and tap on a score there. Third score for Raheny. But again, it comes from the press on the kick out. You can just see, regardless of what team you're playing against, if you can apply pressure to the individual on the ball or for the goalkeeper when they're kicking it out, particularly in this type of game, it causes a bit of frustration for the other team, causes a little bit of panic and gives you a chance to get a score off it. So a nice response towards the end of the half there, and a nice score from play from Sean McCarthy.
Well, in that first half, when Raheny took on shots, it looked like a gamble, and when Crokes took them on, it looked like a sure thing. That's the difference between the teams. Aidan Jones with the goal, Tom Fox with 2 for Crokes, Rory O'Carroll with 2, Shane Cunningham and Craig Diaz on the score sheet also. Cian Ivers with 2 frees for Raheny, Sean McCarthy with that point. The last point from play of the half for Raheny came from Sean McCarthy. It is a 6-point game at the break. Kilmacud Crokes 1-6, Raheny 3 points. Let's have a look at some of the scores I just mentioned.
Yeah, well, I suppose you mentioned it there. It's that, economical nature that applies to Crokes. They're not really taking on shots. Yes, they've had 3 wides, dropped one short, but in a lot of instances what they're doing is right. Here's the pace we're talking about in terms of the efforts at goal. First one from Cian O'Connor there, great save. Ball drops here for Dias. You're sure he's going to score. A brilliant save to push it over the bar. Both of those goal scoring opportunities came within the first 5 minutes or so. So they could have been out the gap at that stage before they finally did manage to roof one. Great goal that came after 11 minutes from Aidan Jones. That point, it was 1-2 to a point, and you were sensing that Raheny were under pressure. It's this movement, the fluidity around the team. There's no one stays in a position, no one is static, everyone is looking for a pass. Brilliant ball into O'Carroll. He manages to pop over his first score of the 2 he's got. Raheny have been reliant on a second free there for their second score of the game. Cian Ivers that managed to drop it over, but again, it's just this movement. Rory O'Carroll coming through so strong there, breaks through 2, pops it over the bar. And the difference between the two teams really is that physicality when they're off the ball, I suppose. Raheny standing back, allowing Kilmacud move the ball left and right. When they do a bit of pressure on, when they do force the kick out, as we've seen here, Patrick Reid moving through, manages a great block from Rory O'Carroll. Great work, despite that the other end having just kicked a couple of scores. Shows how good they are defensive. I mentioned that physical piece. McCarthy knocking one over, having just kicked one wide prior to that. So the difference really is that not so much the work rate, because Raheny are working hard, it's the work rate and the physicality. They're just stepping back, they're allowing Crokes that little bit of time on the ball, allows them find the easier pass, whereas everything that Raheny are winning is won hard in their forward line. What
would you do if you were Raheny at the break? What would you change? What would you try and tweak?
They're doing a lot right in the way that they're set up, because you can't afford to be wide open. Crokes just have that pace and power to get goals. 4 goal scoring opportunities they created in the first half, managed to get one of those. If they hit half of the opportunities, they have a second goal there, and it's really an uphill battle for Raheny. So they're still in the game. Where they have a huge difficulty is in their forwards. They're not winning primary possession of the first ball coming in. Kilmacud are putting so much pressure on the pass out the field that it makes it difficult. Then it's not a 70-30 ball, it's a 60-40 if not 50-50 ball, whereas on the flip side of that, it's the ball is favouring the Crokes forwards. So what do? You have to apply pressure where you can on the kick out. See if you can force a couple of turnovers. That leaves you 50 yards out from goal, rather than turning it over at the other end of the field and having to counter the full length of the field. But you also have to ask guys to get more physical, so leave a hand in, get into the guy's face, get into Crokes' faces. If you start to put the pressure on them and don't allow them to move the ball so freely, then you do give yourself an opportunity of winning ball further out the field. The problem that does create for you is that if everyone is pushed up, there is space inside, and then you're asking guys to back themselves one-on-one with their respective attacker that they're marking. Have Raheny good enough defenders to do that? They do in a lot of instances. They have a lot of guys that are well able to stand up and be counted, but I guess you have to back the players you have there to step up, be physical, and try and force those turnovers further out the field. Okay,
half time in this game, Kilmacud Crokes 1-6, Raheny 3 points. Half time also between Ballyboden, St Enda's and Coola. It's all square there. Ballyboden 10 points, Coola 1-7. St Jude's also in action at the moment. I'll try and bring you latest from that if I possibly can. St Jude's 1-14, Skerry's 9 points is the latest score from that game. We'll be back with the second half shortly. Half time, Kilmacud Crokes 1-6, Raheny 3 points.
Texting you there and seeing your young fella there, marauding up the field. I said, Melanie must be around somewhere. Where are you? Oh, I see you there, yeah. How are you getting on? All good? Oh, you know where your priorities lie. Are you finished up? Are you in holidays this week? See you later. No passion of lunch. Good luck. Is it busy? What's it like? Is it bullshit? Take your face off and no, they can't do anything. Don't tell them.
Raheny have a mountain to climb in the second half. They're 6 points down, 1-6 to 3 points. Coleman Goggins, what do they need to do?
Well, look, it's the obvious that they need scores. They've won from play in 30 minutes. They haven't had an impact in their forward line. How do you get scores? You need to get on the ball. So they need possession of the ball. How do you get possession of the ball? You either retain your own kickouts or your own ball, or you put pressure on the opposition to try and win ball from them. They're struggling in both ends, and that they're struggling to hold on to the ball when they have it themselves, maybe forcing passes and forcing shots at goal. But then likewise, they're maybe not applying that pressure that I spoke about just at the end at the first half there, which is difficult because Kilmacud have so many options. They're very fluid in their movement. They've a lot of pace across the team, so it's hard to commit, all one way and not think about the defensive side of things. Crokes created 4 goal scoring opportunities in that first half, and Raheny weren't overly attacking minded to create a huge amount of space. It's just how they move in terms of the Crokes setup. So what do they need to do? They need to try and get on the ball and try and give a bit of ball into that inside forward line. They've no score from play from their full forward line, so if they can get on a bit of ball and provide them with a bit of impetus in the forward line, a couple of early scores would certainly help. But that's the route into the game. It's just a case of have they enough physicality to win ball back off Crokes.
We're underway for the second half. It's grabbed bravely by Sean McMahon, who is fouled. Positive start for Raheny. What can they do with that positive start? Grenham looking down the line for his brother Sean, who's fouled, and it's a free in.
Yeah, much better, but the movement of the ball, so they're looking for the player out in front. I mentioned that, the 30-40 yard pass was allowing the Crokes defence get out in front. Much better ball. You're looking at 20 yard passes. Gives the forward a chance.
Rutherson Reel. By the time he got that ball, the space was closed off, but he does pop off the pass. Talty recycles to Keogh. Back to Grenham. Michael Grenham will have a go, and it just tails off.
Yeah, unlucky. Much better though from Raheny that time. Moved the ball across. A little bit of space appeared in front of, it was Ben Shovlin maybe who took the shot at the end. Just drifted wide.
Full-time score, Whitehall Colmkill 220, Round Towers of Lusk 1-8. That in the go-ahead Dublin Senior Football Championship 1. So a good win for Whitehall Colmkill, 220 to 1-8, the final score there. Always a nice place to stop off for a coffee on the way to Parnell Park, actually, the Whitehall Colmkill Club grounds. Well, the one further down the avenue. You know the one I mean. Here's McGowan. And that's a good score, his first of the game. Crokes respond to Raheny's positive start, albeit Raheny didn't manage to get a score. Crokes did, and therein lies the difference. Yeah,
Grenham shot at the far end, unlucky, and then Mandy McGowan comes up the other way and drives on over the bar. But again, a nice little touch. Looked like they'd lost the ball, flicked it back, and it created a little bit of space for McGowan to move into.
Ben McHugh. Keogh. Pump forward from Grenham. Just skipped away from O'Carroll, but there were so many white jerseys back there, it didn't matter. I appreciate they're not, but it looks like Kilmacud Crokes have 20 guys on the field. The way they can all just move en masse.
Yeah, huge work rate allows for that to happen, but it's the fluidity around the movement. There's no one stationary in a position. Full forwards happy to get full back.
Cian O'Connor looking for Cunningham.
Well won.
Very well won. Sean McCarthy receives it back from Grenham. Grenham wants it back, gets it back. Keogh. Ivers trying to step inside Shovlin. Reid didn't quite catch it right.
No, two good movements to create scoring opportunities. Just pull it wide, and with every opportunity that drifts the wrong side of the post, just makes it all the more difficult for Raheny to get a foothold into the game. Much better movement. I mentioned it. A tight call from the referee. I would have said he was on the edge of the D there. The referee is deeming he was inside, so he's going to throw the ball up. Tight call, but gives them a good attacking position or platform if they can win a ball here.
O'Carroll. So many around him, but it didn't matter. He was still able to get it away to Casey, who sends it down to Fox. Diaz. Steps away from Howard, inside to Casey. Shoveling. Cunningham calls the mark. Diaz made a burst, didn't come to him. And that's wide.
Yeah,
well, interestingly, when Cunningham took that mark, running inside was Dan O'Brien. He could have gone to him.
Yeah, and Craig Diaz, even though he had made the run and didn't get the pass, he still remained unmarked. Probably a poor kick from Shane Cunningham. A little bit of sloppiness creeping into the play there, and not getting a score off that, having won the mark.
Galloping forward, Sean McCarthy. Getting out in front to try and win that one as Mullen goes to ground. Free out.
Yeah, great work by Michael Mullen. He left the hand in on Grenham that time. Two of them tracking across the field and then just committed to it at the last minute. Great defence.
Well, Clontarf have made me believe that anything is possible this weekend. They were 7 points down 12 or 13 minutes into their match last night. They only lost by 1 in the end. Here's Shane Cunningham. Cunningham doesn't believe in miracles and extends the lead.
Yeah, really sharp turn there. Left Sean Byrne for dust as he turned them there. Another score onto the board. Mentioned a couple of wides having a big impact. Important they can hold on to their own kick out, which they do.
Jews have beaten Skerries 117 to 10 points. That's a 10-point victory. We'll get a latest score from Ballyboden and Coola shortly. It was level at the break in that game. And by the way, the fixtures are not set for the next round in the group stages. The winners will play the winners, if that makes sense, as in the winners of the opening games will play each other. The times, dates, venues, etc. all to be confirmed. Keep an eye on the Dublin GAA website and social media channels for more. Brian Talty, Fox bravely taking it there. O'Carroll, Cunningham, Diaz had Cunningham as an option, just hung on to it. Back it goes to O'Carroll. Tom Fox looking for Shoveling and finding him. 11-3 when you make the conversion. Conor Kinsella. Dan O'Brien's outside. Kinsella takes it on himself, and why not?
Great score, all came from Aidan Jones' turnover. They were shouting from the sideline there to work hard. Aidan Jones managed to turn it over on his own 45-yard line, hold on to the ball for over a minute or so, popped over the bar then by Conor Kinsella. Great score, but all comes from the work rate that Crokes were applying across the field on Raheny.
Fantastic work rate. Back to Gavin Ivory. Finds its way to Darren Byrne. Byrne making his way forward. Shatwell wanted it back, doesn't get it back from Cian Ivers. Sent forward by Keogh. Grenham, Reid. Reid trying to get away from James Murphy. Reid pops it off. Sean McMahon. It just isn't going Raheny's way.
No, a couple of, they've worked very hard to create 3 scoring opportunities, and all of them have just gone the wrong side of the post. Given the work rate and energy they're putting into creating those chances, against the Crokes team who are, so fit and mobile as they are, so difficult to stay in the game when those are dropping the wrong side of the post.
Could have won 11, Ballyboden 10 points. 15 minutes to go in that game. McGowan goes long. Byrne read it well. Punch forward by Grenham. He improvised very well there.
He did. It was a bit of a hospital one. He did well to stick his hand in and win it.
Back there to soak it up as McGowan. McGowan trying to get away from Sean Grenham. O'Carroll. Dan O'Brien. James Murphy. Michael Mullen. Looking on as Casey carries. Kinsella. Craig Diaz. Kinsella continues the run, but he's wrapped up by Shatwell as Diaz. It's a free in. Well, that's David Shatwell who's down for Raheny. He's back up now. He'll get back into the game. O'Carroll. Rory O'Carroll. Crokes moving it quickly again. Fox went outside. That's a mighty score. That's a beautiful point. Cunningham, his third, all from play.
Yeah, great recycle of the ball there. O'Carroll moved on to it, popped it inside, and then it comes back out to Cunningham, who swings it over the bar. It's that movement up front. Raheny just haven't managed to get to grips with it. They're under pressure on their own kick out, struggling to get a couple of scores themselves, and Kilmacud up front just have that extra bit of quality that they're managing to get the scores.
Jack Carney comes in for Raheny. He's replaced Brian Talty. Jack Carney played under 21 for Westmeath in 2017. Would have come up against some of these players actually, because they played Dublin. Here's Rutherson Reel. Keogh. Crokes have a man down off the ball as Keogh rambles forward. That man, by the way, is Hugh Kenny. Howard. Darren Byrne goes to ground. It's a free in for Raheny, and finally a break that goes their way.
Yeah, and again, one of those frees that are given away on the basis of a potential goal being created. So, when Crokes do get, I won't say opened up, when they get a little bit exposed, they're ruthless in terms of shutting down that space. And I say by ruthless, it's a free, it's a foul, there might be a yellow card, but they know the opportunity is that if it slips through where that tackle is going to be made or not made, there's a goal scoring opportunity. And it's that mindset around protecting the goal, protecting giving away the 3 pointers. They know they're not going to lose the game. They're not going to be outpointed here by Raheny the way that the game has played out so far. So you just don't want to concede goals, because that's what gives teams energy, gives them impetus. And the couple of times that Raheny have found that little gap, the gap has been shut tight because of that ruthless nature up front or defensively from Kilmacud.
Ballantyre and Temple Sing Street, the other two teams in this group, they drew this weekend earlier on today. Cian Ivers looking for his third point, all of them from frees. And he has got it. Raheny finally get their first score of the second half.
Yeah, it's just that lack of scores from play. They've 3 from frees, one from play, and it's that inability, I suppose, just to get those scores. They had 3 wide in the second half here, just struggling to hold on to ball, retain possession, and then obviously kick a few scores.
Diaz shoveling as the breeze picks up a bit here in Parnell Park. Tom Fox. Free out to Raheny.
Yeah, he's been consistent on that. He's monitored the steps, called a couple of times, referee, in fairness to him.
Great hand in from Mullen there. Here's Andy McGowan. Craig Diaz runs onto it. Diaz has goal in mind. Flips it up for Fox, who kicks it over. Third for Fox.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the hand pass was. He managed to get it away. Tom Fox did knock it over the bar. He did allow an advantage. Good defending from Keogh, I think, who'd maybe it was Darren Byrne who dropped back to put a bit of pressure on Diaz. Good score from Fox.
Cian Ivers. That's a good take on the run, running onto it. Jack Dalton. Dalton to Carney. Okay, I beg your pardon. O'Kane has a go. This will be the point of the game so far if it was to go over, which it does. It's a fantastic point from James O'Kane.
Yeah, brilliant score. You turned right, turned left, and then lifted it up over the bar. Brilliant score. Yeah, arguably the score of the game, but great for Raheny, a great lift for them. Had a couple of wides into that end, so nice to get one onto the board. Great score.
O'Kane, as you can see, a very decent footballer. He's also a very good rugby player. Was in the Leinster Academy. Still plays with Bective Rangers. Aidan Jones. Crokes in for a goal here. Purcell can't keep his shot on target.
Yeah, big chance. Cut in, seemed to create the space quite easily. Referee calling attention maybe just for... Good chance would have put the game beyond Raheny. It's probably... You mentioned there was inevitability towards the end of the first half. The Crokes are going to run out, but a second goal there certainly would have ended it as a contest. But just not accurate enough, pulls it wide on the near side.
Raheny make another change. Still to play Templeogue, Sing Street and Ballantyre in this group. And I think it's fair to say that those three teams will see the games against each other as winnable.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. But when the draw was made, you'd be thinking that, you know, Crokes are going to see out that group given where they were at last year, and then the other three teams would certainly be at a similar, you know, stage or similar level as such. Would expect that against each other they could pick up points. Ballantyre would probably be disappointed, having led the game for, you know, a large portion, that Templeogue came back and got a draw out of the game. But, you know, it sets up the group because Raheny will obviously fancy their chances against both Ballantyre and Templeogue in terms of getting the championship points on the board as well. So interesting, those three teams could see an opportunity of getting into a quarter final with Crokes leading out in the group. Then it's a battle for who finishes second.
As you say, a draw between those two earlier today. Templeogue, Sing Street and Ballantyre. Templeogue, Sing Street count amongst their members the second captain's Kieran Murphy, although I'm not sure he's playing for the Senior 1 team. Not that he couldn't, just for his frees alone he'd be worth it. Well, Raheny have won a free here.
The referee not happy with Tom Fox's tackle.
Yellow card, Tom Fox. Nine points between the teams. We've just been talking about the group and the overall context of things. Even if you lose, it's important not to ship a beating, not to ship a big score. The referee wants a word with another player here.
I was just going to say, Shabelle seemed to lean into Tom Fox there, so it'll be interesting to see what the linesman has said to him. Rory O'Carroll and Brian Howard getting to know each other. Tom Fox certainly involved again there.
But my point is, a scoring difference could be the difference at the end of the group. Some of these groups, they go right down to the wires, and it's a red card for David Shatwell. That's a huge, huge blow for Raheny. I don't think they were ever getting back into this game, but any chance that they had is now surely gone.
Yeah, and just when we were looking across it, Tom Fox was a heavy tackle, and it did look like Shatwell came across and then leaned into Tom Fox. So the referee has obviously deemed that he's made some contact with David Shatwell and is obviously sent him to the line as a consequence. Now Brian Howard is furious with the decision, had a go at the referee already in terms of talking to him. So, you know, tempers getting frayed a little bit here.
Shatwell's so experienced, he's such a big loss to Raheny. Any player who gets sent off is. He's played everywhere except goal for Raheny. And with 12 minutes to go, it's looking rather bleak. Intercepted by Conor Casey. Shane Horan, who came off the bench, you wonder what he's doing back there. Generally a forward, but with Crokes, and I appreciate this is a massively overused GA cliche in the last couple of years, positions really do mean nothing. You have a number on your back and you're lined out on paper the traditional way, but the traditional lineup is no longer really a thing. Theo Clancy off to Shovlin. Very well defended by Colin Hare. Ivers from deep. Sean McMahon. James O'Kane. James O'Kane somehow got through the crowd and then was dispossessed brilliantly by Shane Horan.
Yeah, brilliant by Shane Horan, waited for the play of the ball and then just popped it out of his hands. O'Kane But great work by Crokes. You know, they reset themselves, managed to put a bit of pressure on and win the ball back.
That's loose. It's not something you'd associate with Crokes, but they get away with it. Scarpering back was Conor Casey. I spoke to Robbie Brennan a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that when they got back to the clubhouse the night they lost the All-Ireland final, there was a huge crowd waiting for them, and he said that really did give them a huge boost, and it's something that helped kind of carry them through some of the darker days and weeks that followed losing that All-Ireland club final.
Oh yeah, it was such a hammer blow for them because they had been in control in the game to cough up the score so late and to lose it that way. You don't get a chance to get a bite back at it almost. But look, they're laying out a marker here early in the Dublin Championship and where they want to get to, I imagine, and back to an All-Ireland club final is probably top of that priority list, albeit there's a road to travel in terms of Dublin Championship first of all.
And the toughest part of that road is nearly Dublin. Horan played county football with Offaly, of course. Dan O'Brien outside. Did look like Tomás O'Shea was going to take that Offaly job, but I think he's unavailable now. Here's Michael Mullen. Andy McCowan. Bounces kindly for Aidan Jones. What a goal he got in the first half. Shane Horan. Ben Shovlin. Tom Fox. Hits it wide.
So good at moving the ball around. It's just so difficult for Raheny. You're marking space, you're trying to track across, you're working so hard and just not managing to get hands on the ball. Possession statistics massively in favour of Kilmacud, constantly moving the ball. A couple of poor options in terms of their shot selection in the second half, maybe it's cost them a few scores. Tom Fox, you know, with a yellow card, Robbie Brennan probably making a decision to take him off and not run the risk of a red card.
Dara Dempsey and Anthony Quinn have been introduced to the game for Kilmacud Crokes. Raheny also making a change. Michael Grennan went off. Didn't quite catch who went on. We'll confirm that in a moment or two. Rutherson Reel gives it inside for Jack Dalton. Dalton, who only really seriously started playing Gaelic football a couple of years ago. He was more of a soccer player. He has an eye for goal. He's very far from that position at the moment. Here's Owen Keogh. Down the line it goes to James O'Kane. O'Kane not afraid to take on that Kilmacud Crokes defence, and he wins a free in.
Yeah, he's been very good on the ball. You know, he hasn't come in obviously midway through the second half, but when he's got on the ball he's been quite trying to do the right thing with it, trying to be that bit creative, trying to create a little bit of space, albeit that Shane Horan snapped one off him.
Eight minutes to go, 9 points the gap. This, hopefully from the Raheny point of view, reducing it to 8. It's going to drop harmlessly wide.
Yeah, 8 wide for Raheny, 4 in the second half. I don't think it was going to change what way the result is going to pan out at the end of the game, but it certainly would have given them a little bit of a lift. And as those chances I mentioned drift wide, it just becomes ever more difficult to try and narrow that gap to Crokes and just their movement and play of the ball.
We had a draw earlier on in the go-ahead Dublin Senior 1 Championship between Templeogue, Sink Street and Ballantyre. We've got another draw between Ballyboden and Coola. 113 Coola, 16 points Ballyboden. What did we say earlier on about this being an incredibly tight championship? Diaz. McGowan. Diaz. Thought about shooting, then thought better of it. Moved it outside to Theo Clancy. Hugh Kenny tries to squeeze it over from a very tight angle and doesn't, but it does stay in play. It's collected on that far post by Sean McMahon, who lets it off to Rutherson Reel.
Yeah, it's been quite enough for Kilmacud. Hugh Kenny, that one grazing the upright and dropping out again to Raheny, but he hasn't really seen much of the action. It's been, you know, Tom Fox, Shane Cunningham really who've led the line for Crokes today.
Raheny tries something direct towards Reid. He's up against 2, he won't mind that, but he does leave it behind him. Casey.
Yeah, probably in two minds there. Was thinking he had the ball won and was going to get away with it, but took his eye off it, dropped it, and Crokes come away again, and Raheny have to revert to defensive mode.
Casey in behind for Pádraig Purcell. Aidan Jones. Shane Horan makes the run. Takes it bravely, gets hit by Keogh, stays on his feet, spills it to Diaz, who pops it over.
Yeah, did brilliant Shane Horan there. Great hit from Owen Keogh to stop him in his tracks. Then looked like he'd after winning the ball, but Horan just managed to get a hand away to Craig Diaz, who then popped it over the bar. Keogh probably a little bit winded by the hit, but great hit, great stop, but just still managed to get the ball away for Diaz to get a score. Ends a 10-minute spell without a score for Crokes.
Crokes on the hunt again. It's Pádraig Purcell. Anthony Quinn, I beg your pardon. Now it's Craig Diaz. Diaz, will he take it on himself? It's a 45.
Well done, Sean. Byrne came across well there. Looked like Diaz was in two minds. Was he going to shoot for goal or pop it over the bar? And as a consequence, it gave Byrne that extra second to get across, get a block in. Gray well defended. Another arguably half goal chance that goes a beggar for Crokes. That's 6 I have them down for creating. They only managed to hit the one. Probably just as well for Raheny, but need to get that little bit more clinical if they hope to continue to progress.
Gavin Sheridan up to take it. I mentioned that the Senior 2 Championship is incredibly interesting this year, considering the fact that St Vincent's, Parnell's, Nave Marnogue, St Bridget's, Plunkett's, they're all in it, and only 2 can go up. As Sheridan pops it over. Well, he does more than pop it over, in fairness, from that distance. 113 to 5 points. Underway about 20 minutes is the game between St Vincent's and St Mary's. It's going on down the road in St Vincent's. Parnell's and Ballybockle not long started as well. That was another 6:30 game, as was Nave Olaf against Plunkett's and Nave Marnogue against St Patrick's Donabate, a club that you're now very familiar with, Coleman.
Correct. Coaching or ruining the young people at Donabate at the moment.
They weren't tempted to stick you on tonight or anything, were they?
They have far better and more athletic fellas than I am.
Okay, so you're not making the dart across to Portmarnock.
I would have made it a shot across to have a look at them all right. Great, big achievement for them, first time playing senior championship, so it's great that they're there.
Yep.
It's a good, Senior 2 gives them that opportunity where you're not obviously coming up against that next level in terms of the Senior 1 championship, but a big opportunity for Donabate to flex their muscle in senior championship for the first time ever, so best of luck to the lads in championship. I was just looking through the notes. It looks to me, based on what I've scribbled down, that all Crokes scores have come from play. In comparison, out of the 5 that Raheny have tagged on, 3 are frees and 2 from play. So, I mentioned that Paul Mannion is missing in terms of their maybe regular go-to guy for free taking. A couple of chances they had in the first half from about 35-40 metres out. They look to move it short. So they're obviously adapting to the fact that they don't have a free taker. And I'm sure they're well able to take them on if they get them close enough. But, 113 from play. 6 goal chances created. Robbie Brennan will be happy enough. And they're still working so hard out there trying to win turnovers.
Laid off for Ben McHugh. Out towards Keogh. Driving on Sean McMahon. Rutherson Reel. Howard popping up in that kind of corner forward position. Rutherson Reel just keeps going himself. Chased down by Craig Diaz. Rutherson Reel, a real stalwart of this Raheny team. And just takes too many steps and it's a free out. Yeah,
he's unlucky because that tackle that Craig Diaz is trying to enact there, where you kind of pull with your left arm and then try and punch the ball out with your right side, technically a free in that you're pulling the player back or you're slowing them down, but he gets the advantage there in terms of Rutherson Reel over carry. And I mentioned there that Crokes' scores have come from play. I was totting up that before before Sheridan came up the field and knocked over a 45. So 112 from play, not bad return.
O'Carroll into the hands of Anthony Quinn. Quinn looking for Hugh Kenny. Kenny kept the ball in play but not himself. No, he didn't, he went wide.
A couple of players inside again. Referee is going to hop the ball. Look, we mentioned the game had an inevitable conclusion after about 20 minutes of the first half. The Crokes are going to run out winners. Raheny have struggled possession, struggled up front. A couple of chances they've got, they've put it wide. You know, everything has been hard work for them in trying to get out from where they're defending, trying to break out.
Shovlin, Diaz, great save. The second time that Gavin Ivory has made a point blank save from Craig Diaz today.
Yeah, unbelievable performance in the nets. You know, 3 great saves. They're having a little giggle at each other there as Diaz makes his way out the field.
We're in injury time now. Crokes looking to see it home. Raheny looking to tack on a couple of more scores. That's Jack Dalton.
It's ferocious though when you catch the ball there. Crokes aren't standing looking at you, trying to direct you left or right. They're getting hands on. They're getting physical. And Rory O'Carroll's going to see the line for the last few minutes here.
It's a red card.
Yeah, second yellow. Sees him leaving the field. Referee was frustrated he wouldn't get out of the way. He was trying to slow down the tackle. Correct decision in terms of the yellow card. At this stage of the game, poor decision from Rory O'Carroll not to get out of the way.
Again, it just doesn't quite have the legs from Cian Ivers. Can only imagine how fatigued those players are feeling now for Raheny. They've been chasing shadows for a lot of the day, and that just takes it out of you so much.
Yeah, and last 10 or 12 minutes with 14 players as well made it even more difficult. Crokes had that extra player throughout after David Chappell seen a red card for the incident with Tom Fox.
And that's the full-time whistle. Kilmacud Crokes opened the defence of their title with a win. 113 to 5 points. Coleman.
Look, in fairness to Raheny, they tried to create opportunities, but they were going to struggle because they were never going to get the possession up front that they were going to need to have to get the big scores against Kilmacud. Kilmacud on the flip side, left so many scores behind them in terms of the goal scoring opportunities and needed only the one to see it through. And even without that goal, were good enough to have got a result. I mentioned the 113, 112 from play, 1 from a 45. 5 scores that Raheny got. 3 were from place balls, 2 from play. So they just lacked that cutting edge up front, lacked the creativity. Yes, they hit 4 wides when they had opportunity to maybe narrow the gap a little bit further, but through and through, and from early, I suppose, in the first half, you could see that there was only going to be one outcome. Kilmacud just so much stronger, better organised in terms of their tackle, and so much more physical when meeting the ball head on. Comparison to Raheny were shifting left and right without coming on and putting that physical touch on. But better performance physically from Crokes in terms of how they tackle, and that's the level that teams need to get to if you want to stop Kilmacud Crokes from securing a second Dublin championship on the spin.
We'll have a look at the best of the second half in a moment, but let's just run you through what we know from today. Temple Oak, Sing Street and Ballantyre St John's earlier on in Group 1 getting the draw, but the highlights are on now, so let's have a look at them.
Yeah, look, we mentioned maybe just Crokes seeing it out early on there, inside line. Cunningham very strong, fisting the ball over the bar. Tom Fox had a good performance, good solid performance too. Probably a lack of scores across the second half and maybe not needed, but the opening 10 minutes seeing Crokes tag on 4 scores without reply, so by the 40th minute it left it at 110 to 3 points. So it was always going to be difficult for Raheny to come anywhere back from that, but a great score there from Cunningham. That ball on the loop where they picked it out, managed to get a score. They were banking on free taken really to kind of keep them in the game. Owen Keogh, who got on a lot of ball, great move here that freed up a little bit of space. Mentioned that ruthless nature when there's a half a chance of a goal that you get shut down, and that's what Crokes managed to do so well. Just not allow them get a foothold in the game. Great score coming up. Yeah, great score again just from Crokes to keep the scoreboard ticking over, and it just meant that Tom Fox was moving things along. This is the score from play, I think, that O'Kane came onto the field, did a lot of good things on the ball. He's feinting to go right, swings back onto his left and then drives a boomer over the bar, which was a great score, but just too few. That was only their second score of the half, and the second one from play. Great work. But I mentioned about Crokes managing to get the ball away. Even when they lose it, they manage to get something out of it. Diaz getting a score there does well. Here's Diaz coming through, where we mentioned there's the goal scoring chance. I think he was going to pop it over the bar, but Byrne did well to come across him and get a block on it, and it drove it out for 45. But even at that, it allowed for Sheridan to come up and knock it over the bar with a great kick. Look, through and through, Crokes just a better side, better organised, more physical in everything that they were doing. And despite the goal chances, another great save here. That was as I have it down, as the 7th goal scoring opportunity that they created across the 60 plus minutes. Well, just better in terms of the organisation, much more physical in how they applied themselves. And Raheny, certainly without Fenton is a big miss. But Raheny just couldn't get the possession to get scores up front, and ultimately ran out as we had half anticipated. Just Crokes that much stronger throughout.
Okay, let's run you through what we know from today and indeed across the weekend. Temple Oak, Sing Street and Ballantyre St John's drew earlier on. That means that Kilmacud Crokes are on top of the group. Temple Oak and Ballantyre on 1 point apiece. Raheny obviously bottom. In Group 2, Ballymun-Kickham's beating Clontarf by 1 point last night. You can watch that game back on Dubs TV. We were here for that match. Earlier on, Ballyboden, St Enda's and Coola also in Group 2, the same group as Ballymun and Clontarf, drawing. In Group 3, Thomas Davis took on Nafina earlier on. Nafina winning out in the end. Again, another match you can go back and watch. That was in Group 3. St Jude's beating Skerry's Harps also in that group. And in Group 4, Lucan Sarsfield's losing to Castleknock last night. Round Towers of Lusk being beaten well by Whitehall Colmkill. The scoreline in that game: Whitehall Colmkill 220, Round Towers of Lusk 1-8. St Jude's 117, Skerry's Harps 10 points, and Ballyboden 16 points, Coola 113. And I can't remember who got the 110 and who got the 13 points between Temple Oak, Sing Street and Ballantyre, but it was a draw. Ballantyre, you think, got the goal?
No, I think it was 13 Ballantyre. Was it 110 Temple Oak, I think?
That's right. Okay, well, either way it was a draw. Temple Oak got the goal.
Correct.
Yep. If you were playing for Ballantyre still, of course they would have got goals, and a lot of them. Lots of action going on in Senior 2 at the moment. As I say, an absolute Shark Tank Senior 2. More live games to come on Dubs TV in the next couple of weeks and indeed months, as we check out the Senior Hurling Championship and Senior Football Championship. Keep an eye on all of the Dublin GAA social media channels for all of that, and indeed the Dublin GAA website. Coleman Goggins, thank you very much. Thanks to you all for watching. We'll be back in the next couple of weeks with more live action from the Go Ahead Dublin Senior Football and Hurling Championships. As always, you can join the conversation for football on hashtag Go Ahead DSF1, and for hurling, Go Ahead DSH1. From myself and Coleman in Parnell Park, I will say good night and good luck.